Hey students, this is lesson 1.3b. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to write equations of lines when we're given the slope and 1 point on the line, or when we're given 2 points on the line. The first thing we're going to do is kind of introduce you to the equation though here on the first part of this video. Let's go to this page. We're on page 7 right now. And to help you understand the equations, we need to understand how the slope works and what the y-intercept is. So right now, on number 1, it says, we learned the slope is rise over run. How would you describe the rise and run for a slope of -2? Well, you can make a ratio out of any integer by just dividing it by 1. And then we have -2 on top, 1 on the bottom. The top number is the rise, but a negative means you're really dropping 2. And 1 on the bottom, that's the run. That's either left or right. Right would be positive. So we're going to go right 1 by that slope. Okay. If we have a slope of 1/2, the 1 on top is positive. So that's going to be going up 1, a rise of 1. And the run is 2. Again, that's a positive number, so that's going to be right 2. We're going to need this later on when we graph these. Okay. The other thing you should know is that when we say 0b, what we're talking about is the coordinate on the y-axis, where b is the y value of that on the y-axis. So the first thing we're going to do is find those coordinates for each of these graphs. I'm going to do graph A and B, and you can try C and D after the video is done. But if you look on the y-axis, here's the y-axis. The point where the line crosses the y-axis, that's called the y-intercept. And for this line, the y-intercept is 0, -5. And so B is the y part of that, which is -5. And that's going to be part of our equation. I'll show you that in a little bit. Okay, on this graph, we have the y-intercept is the point 0, -8. The b part is the -8. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is find the slopes of these lines, and then we're going to write the equations for the line. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and find the slope. Now remember, slope, if it's on a graph, we can just find rise over run. We just have to identify where the points are on this line. As you can see, those points look like they're hitting the grid lines there. So if you between each of these, it looks like we're going down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. So the slope of this line is -1 over 1, or 1. That's the slope. Okay. The slope of the second line is, looks like we're going up 5 for every 1 we go over. So the slope of this line is 5 over 1, or just 5. Okay, now here's how you write an equation once you know the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, so I can fill these in. My slope for graph A was -1. My slope for graph B was 5. Okay. The way you write an equation is like this. This is called the slope-intercept form of equation. M is the slope, and B is the y-intercept. So once you know the slope and the y-intercept, you can just plug them in. My slope for the first one is -1, and my y-intercept was -5. And notice I'm just adding that -5 on the end, and I'm just putting the slope in front of the x. You can simplify it a little if possible. Here, since it's -1 times x, that's just the same as -x, and plus -5 is the same as -5. The second equation, the slope was 5, that goes in front of the x, and the y-intercept was -8, that goes at the end. A simpler way to write that would be just 5x minus 8. Okay, so that's what those look like. Let's go on to the next page. And in this page, we're going to use a grid to plot that point, and then we're going to use the slope to plot 2 more points on the line. All right. So the first thing we want to do is identify from the equation the y-intercept. And in this first equation right here, remember this is the slope, it's y equals mx plus b. So we have to think of what are we adding. And if we want to write this as an addition, we would say we're adding -1. So b is equal to -1 in this first problem. And m is equal to 3. So we're going to go on the graph on the y-axis and find the point -1. And then we're going to use a slope of 3 to create some other points. So we need to go up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. Because remember, a slope of 3 is the same as the ratio of 3 over 1. Then you can go ahead and draw on the line. All right, on the second one right here, we have our slope is 1/2, which means we're going to go up 1, right 2. And then our y-intercept is 4, so we're going to find 4 on the y-axis. We're going to go up 1, right 2. That looks like that. And we can keep going. We can go down 1, left 2 also, get more points. And then we can go ahead and draw on that. All right. Last thing we're going to do is just check to make sure those points actually are the points from the equation. I'm just going to do one equation for you here. So my equation A was y equals 3x minus 1. So I'm given the x values in this table, so I just need to multiply those x values by 3 and then subtract 1. 3 times -2 is -6 minus 1 is -7. 3 times -1 is -3 minus 1 is -4. 3 times 0 is 0, minus 1 is -1, and so on, doing the math. And then let's just verify that those points, like -2, -7, are on that first graph. So -2, -7, that would be right here. It seems like it would be the next point on there. -1, -4, that checks with this one. 0, -1, that was my y-intercept. 1, 2, that's this one. And 2, 5 is this one. So it seems like I graphed the right points for that equation. All right, that's going to be it for this lesson. The next lesson, we'll get more into writing the equations when we're given some information. And we'll talk about this next time we meet in class.